All right, let's get this all
Hello,
set.
everyone.
All
Welcome. We are so excited to be
right,
here tonight with you guys.
I think everything is working the way God intended it. This is perfect. So, all right, let's get crack-a-lackin'. Hello, everybody. How you doing? We are David and Stacy Whited, and we're excited to be able to share some information that has it's impacted us for a lot of years, but it's
Mhm.
also been kind of a little bit of a huge revelation to us in the last few weeks of the building process. And
For
we're like,
sure.
man, we just got to get this out there and share it with some more people. So we're gonna get going here. We
So
asked,
it's funny because we called tonight's meet on super secret shortcuts of the super successful. Don't say that 5 times. It's dangerous. So super secret shortcuts of the super successful. So coming off of our 1 month vacation and preparing for our event coming up in Greensboro, we were like, we've got to get back to work.
time to get to work, time to shift from vacation mode
Yes.
to building mode. And so as we go through this tonight, I do ask some of you guys if you're seasoned veterans on here and you can answer some questions for us in the chat. We will probably not be able to do that as we go through the presentation at the same time, but we will possibly jump on here and still have some question time at the end. This will not be a 1 hour presentation as was listed. This will be a little bit shorter than that. And so buckle up. We're going to give you everything we got just in a few minutes and just kind of give you a drink of water out of a fire hose. So all right. The question that we really wanted to know is as technical question here. All right. So anyway, the thing that we were really working on here is there are specific things that champions do. The people at the top of their field, the top producers in the corporate world, in the entertainment industry, in lots of areas. There's specific things that they do that produce amazing results that are accessible to everybody, and that produce a result that sometimes we attribute to intelligence and ability and things that we don't have control over. So we're going to jump into some of those things tonight.
And coming off of our vacation, we really wanted to make sure, okay, what are other leaders experiencing? What are they doing right now in building towards this major event? So we contacted Elizabeth Weber, and we contacted Big Al and Kelly Whited and Chris and Jackie Blasco and Don Martin
Probably
and Freddie and
a
Colin
dozen $1 million
Haskins
earners or
and
more, people all
a
over
lot
the
of different
country.
people. And so this presentation tonight is an accumulation of what they had to say as well.
So, we're going to kind of click through these here and show you. But, like we said, in every industry, Celine Dion, I know she works with Seth Riggs and has voice coach and, has done a lot of things, had some ups and downs in her career. And there's things that she's done in private that have produced the results that you see in public. And if you're taking notes tonight, really write that down because we're going to hone in on that expression through the rest of the night. There are certain things that champions do in private that produce the results we see in private. She's holding an award of some kind. It looks like more of an award you get as a deer hunter in Wisconsin. I don't think Celine Dion's ever hunted deers in Wisconsin, maybe in the French Alps or something of Canada. I don't know, whatever. But I don't think it's a deer hunting award. Jim Carrey hold another award of some kind. I have no idea, but there's things that he's done. And these guys have biographies and books and things written about him. I know that Jim Carrey is famous for, writing himself a $20 million check and keep it in his billfold for years before, that ever happened. So Michael Jordan.
Yeah, exactly. In the description of tonight, we talked about Michael Jordan, of course, the best of all time. And you can see here on this PowerPoint, he's got, I don't know how many rings on his fingers, but that is quite an accomplishment. And truly, most people would look at him as the best basketball player of all time.
So probably without question, but there's a lot of things, again, in biographies and books, that Michael Jordan did in private that produced the results that put the rings on his finger in public. And so, really hone in on that. The things that are done in private create the results that are seen in public. And it's no different in our industry and within our business as well. We have rock stars and superstars and seasoned MVPs and people like Elizabeth Weber that have set the bar for truly what's possible for other people to follow, people who bought into the vision early on, long before anyone else, and created a behavior pattern that we all aspired to be able to be just like. So
absolutely. One of my favorite too, of course, Frank and Gingy Kiefer. Unbelievable leaders in Market America and people that definitely, no doubt about it, when you listen to their audios, that they were doing things in private, with even showing the plan 3 times a day, whether they were showing to someone or not, even if it was just to themselves, but doing things in private that in public really showed, later on when they were being recognized.
And again, if you were to hide in the bushes or have, if you were the FBI or something and you were tracking Frank and Gingy Kiefer and Elizabeth Weber around, they're probably in their resumes and some of what we call the measurables, there wouldn't have been, there would have been massive differences, not a lot of commonalities, but they produced the same results because of the things we're going to talk about tonight, specific key behaviors that the champions emulate. So Pam and Tony Bowling, same thing. They're not only one of the best looking couples, the classiest couple probably
it's full of peace and
in the
prosperity.
planet. They just truly like surf through life on a sea of peace and prosperity. But there are specific key things that they did that are the same as Frank, the same as Elizabeth, and held up with the rest of our study with, a dozen or more $1 million earners on this specific question. Went too many. Amber Yang is where we were there before.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. If
one of my favorite people to hear speak.
Event, you're going to you'll recognize her organization of just incredible leaders. And she's done such an incredible job of setting the bar for so many people.
So love hearing her speak. Again, key specific things that she's done that hold up with the rest of the people in our study. So, you find this, whether it's in the business world, in sports, acting, for athletes, music, there are key things that you learn about. And it's like, by the time you're a professional, they're all talented. They're all smart. They're all dynamic. They all have, something great going for them.
Yes.
But there are key things that are done in private, though, that sometimes we attribute, in my opinion, too much to the talent and not enough to the process of what's done in the unseen. So we're going to dig into that then a little bit deeper tonight. So, I love this one here. I cannot do a training without talking about sports. And for those of you...
It's so funny because as we were preparing for tonight, David said, have we ever done a training together that I didn't talk about football or have a PowerPoint about football? I cannot think of one.
Yeah,
You've got to cover football.
I don't
but
think
it
ever.
doesn't have anything to do with the Chiefs, which is not normal.
Yeah, that is weird. But, in the year that Peyton Manning was drafted, there was another quarterback named Ryan Leaf. Football fan, you've heard of him. He's synonymous with imploding and blowing his opportunity at greatness. We got the Hall of Fame and the Hall of Shame here, between the two of them. So there was a big argument, though, and even in the professional sports circles, among coaches, among GMs, among all the media, there was not a consensus over who should be taken number one. There was a big battle over these two because the NFL has a combine every year where they test all of your physical attributes. They take IQ tests and they have you throw the ball and run and do all these tests, and they want to come up with, on paper, how good are you? They want to come up, here's the goal in the NFL with the combine. They want to come up with, on paper, here's what your value is. Here's how good you're going to be. And they want to be able to project into the future how those tangibles correlate to production. And sometimes the tangibles correlate perfectly to production, but at least half the time or more, they don't. They ended up taking Peyton Manning number one, but Ryan Leaf went number two right behind him, and everybody thought that the Chargers got a huge steal being able to get him number two. But there were things that Peyton did in private that was different than Ryan, and he turned into a Hall of Fame quarterback and multiple-time Super Bowl champion. So
that everybody knows.
That
everybody knows. So it's pretty amazing.
Yes. So anyway, bouncing back here, Tom Brady, whether you like him or not, and the Patriots, you cannot deny that he's been in, many Super Bowls. They're always in the thick of it. They're always in the playoffs when he's a quarterback. And this image that we chose to put on the screen here, the reason we did is because one of the most famous images is Tom Brady holding a Lombardi trophy with confetti falling down around him. And so that is kind of what people think of when they think of Tom Brady, and we're just going to keep this all super positive. Naive sports fans don't jump on there with too much other stuff. But that's what you think of. You do think of champion, look at what he's done. But a lot of people forget about this other image of Tom Brady, which is his photograph from the combine the year that he was drafted.
I cannot believe that that's Tom Brady.
It looks like a scrawny little piece of nothing. He could be, if I were to just ask people off the street that knew nothing about sports, they wouldn't know whether he is an accountant or, I don't know, a computer programmer, a hacker, but
you can't tell.
But you probably wouldn't guess one of the greatest professional athletes of all time, a Hall of Fame football player, no doubt. You wouldn't guess that by the picture. And if you
taken 6th in the draft.
6th round.
That's what I mean. 6th
Okay.
round in the draft.
The Patriots get a lot of credit for picking Tom Brady. Like, what a genius. They saw something in him. Well, the Patriots passed on him, 5 times before that and didn't even want him. And so, the measurables don't always correlate. Sometimes you miss it. What's on paper is a little different than what's going to, produce the results and be in the production.
And the business is the same way. You never know. When you sit down to show the business to someone, you don't know if you are showing a Tom Brady or somebody that you'll never hear of again, or an Elizabeth Weber, like we're talking about here. You never know who might be sitting across the table from you when you're sharing this business opportunity. So that's always very exciting.
So the key difference between the results that are produced in sports or in business and what produces the income here cannot necessarily be correlated to the tangibles of what would be on paper. And here's the thing that I see often. We put too much emphasis on Elizabeth Weber on stage, receiving all the awards, rock star, doing all these things. And what's the best way to put this? When you increase her ability to a place that's not even human, it sort of by default accidentally eliminates your accountability to do the things that she did off stage that put her on stage.
And there are specific things that we're going to talk about tonight. What creates the difference between Elizabeth Weber and somebody that's been in for a few years and hasn't seen the same results? And so we're going to talk about how does that happen? What are the specific things that she's doing in private, that people in the $1 Million Club that are doing in private, or people that are directors that are doing in private, that maybe you're not yet doing? And so there definitely is a difference. There's things that you can do to become successful.
And Elizabeth Weber was one of our key interviews. She sent us a whole page of notes of on this topic that we're talking about tonight and contributed to this. So, just a genius in what she's done. But the things that got her on stage, and she sent me in her notes, had nothing to do with her outfit or where she got her hair
Even
done.
though it's always cool.
Or her jewelry or any of these things. Her tips all had to do with things that are done in private, things you wouldn't see that probably don't get applause. And if you saw her do them, you probably wouldn't even pay attention or appreciate the greatness of what you just saw.
So let's talk about what are the activities that a director would be doing that a director in the making may not know to be doing.
Well, here's a key thing that I want to talk about is I believe that everybody, if you have the ability to log on to this webinar tonight, you have the ability to purchase a Fast Start kit, you have the ability, you're up to speed at that level. You have the ability to earn a 6-figure income in this business. And if you can earn a 6-figure income in this business, you can become a director. So I just put people into this in one of two categories. Either you are a director or above, or you're a director in the making. You're in the process of doing it. And so there are key things between the behaviors. And one of them is a director or $1 million earner or people in that category have the ability to be able to look out the window, recognize the seasons, see the change in the clouds. They can see rain's coming. They know what time it is. They know what season it is, and they know the most important use of their time and what to do.
And so if you were to even, say it's like farming, we're all planting seeds. You've got the director there planting seeds with, the products that they're selling and the plans that they're showing. The director in the making is doing the same thing. Here is the only difference between the two. The director or the people that's in the $1 Million Club or the Elizabeth Weber knows when the harvest comes and when it's time to harvest, when it's time to really work. And we have 2 harvests per year.
Yep, they know what time it is.
Exactly. What time is it?
What time is it? It's work time.
It's
harvest time. It's time to get to work. And here is what that looks like here. There's 2 different things. Let me switch off this for a second. What do you think? Come back to that and go to here?
Sure.
We had a little staff meeting there, deciding which to do.
Yep.
So I don't know if this is back on here. We're now broadcasting on the camera. So here's the difference of what happens. There's 2 different categories of people in this season right now. And this could be used all year long when you're headed into any kind of an event, a regional, a local seminar. But there's twice a year you have a major event. And that's when everything comes together. All the top earners from all over the world, the corporate team, manufacturers, vendors, all kinds of, all the minds
the fireworks.
The whole dog and pony show. Everything comes together in one spot twice a year. that is your money maker. That is your time to go to work. And here's the difference. There's two categories of people. There may be three. There's one that don't even know something's going on. But there's, category two, and I'm talking to builders. I'm talking to people, you initiated the process, this business with an intention of generating income, and for the social side of it, and you just love, hanging out, that's great. But if you're trying to generate income, there's two groups of people. If you're trained by what we call the 45-year plan, the corporate world, or you're in pharmaceutical sales or real estate or any of these kind of things, your habit and what's kind of programmed into you, your habit is you're headed, you got a convention in Las Vegas or something, and so you back off on your appointments a little bit. You're going there, you're going to learn a bunch of new information, and you're going to come back, and then you're charged up, and you're going to call on all your clients.
Because it's all about what you do. That's typically what a job situation looks like. It's all about what you do. You're paid for your production. And there's a difference between that and what we're talking about tonight.
Here's the other category. And we noticed it when we came back. We were on a 1-month vacation. We went with my wife's mom and dad and about 20 family members. They took us all, went to East Coast. Went to
Niagara Falls.
Amish country. Yep. And we went to Hershey factory and Martin Guitar factory and Canada and all these things. And so coming back from that, it was almost like a goose knowing to fly south. It's so programmed and ingrained in us that right now we're close to harvest time. We're at like the 3-week window, the 2-week window. We're approaching the event. And a thing triggers in us that becomes like an obsession, almost like if you have a piece of popcorn stuck in your tooth and you can't leave it alone.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah, football and food are my two main analogies.
Everybody's probably experienced that.
And so you're just like, it's driving me nuts until I get that out of my tooth. It's that kind of you can't stop thinking about obsession that I'm going to get one new key person to this major event with me because I know it can change the landscape of my business forever. One person can change it all. And if they get in the room, they're going to get it.
Because that is leverage. That is where residual income comes from. And that is the power of what we do in network marketing. It truly is the leverage of not just what you can do, but what an organization of people can do. And we're going to talk about, for David and I, this has been just a huge thing for the last 20 years. We have what we call the 45-year plan hours versus the 2 to 3 year plan hours. And 45-year plan hours are basically what you can do. That's what the production of what you are doing on a daily basis. And what we've found over the last 20 years with Market America is that the 45-year plan hours pay you, but it's basically minimum wage. It will never create residual income, but it will pay you in your business. It'll never be walk away because as soon as you're done working, you're done producing income. So what we want to talk about is how do you produce 2 to 3 year plan hours? And 2 to 3 year plan hours is what you and your organization can do as a team. And so every time that we're in an event, whether it's a UBP or an HBP or a Wellness 101, all the way up to a world conference or an international convention, David and I are constantly calculating how many 2 to 3 year plan hours are we getting done at this event. So let's say that we are having a UBP and we have 20 people there that night, and it's a 1 hour or let's say 2 hour presentation. Well, that night we are getting 40 2 to 3 year plan hours done that night, and we are doing 2 45-year plan hours. And what we've found over the last 20 years is people will always do what you do, but never what you say. So in order for your people to show up at an unfranchised business presentation or to a world conference, of course you have to be there or your people won't show up. And so you really have to learn in Market America the difference between a 45-year plan hour, which is really good, but it'll never create residual income, and 2 to 3 year plan hours where real residual income comes from.
If you're taking notes tonight, write those two things down. Every hour you spend personally in this business is a 45-year plan hour. And you've got to put those in. You can't skip that point. You can't just sit home and watch TV and it gets built for you. But there is a law of decreasing returns that kicks in at a certain point, and it's the tools and leverage you create. And so, a conversation I was having with my son Colton. He got started not quite a year ago in the business, just at senior master coordinator. Super proud of him. He'll hit a 6-figure income, right at a little over his first year, and he had a $1,500 a week while we're on vacation. So it's like he's experiencing the benefits of what he had done the previous 9-10 months in the business. But every time he would call me that he had a presentation, that he was at a meeting, that he was doing anything, I always asked him the same question. How many hours did you work tonight? How many hours did you work tonight? I remember he was a head waiter and bartender at Outback, going to college full time, just got married, young guy. And I remember telling him, I said, listen, while you're at work tonight, think about this. You're creating more hours of production in your Market America business than you're going to produce at Outback all week. And that was fairly early on. And he's like, wow, okay, I'm producing more 2 to 3 year plan hours outside of Outback while my physical body is inside of the restaurant during this shift. And so begin thinking and calculating the number of hours that you're spending, because not all hours are created equal. You cannot come and just muscle your way up to a large income in this business.
So in speaking to all of these leaders, $1 million earners, Elizabeth Weber being the top money earner, the biggest tip that she had, or the secret that she had, was building from event to event. That is truly how she's built her business. And so obviously the next big event that we have is International Convention in Greensboro, North Carolina, that's coming up August the 4th through the 7th. And so in talking to her, she was talking about this right now is harvest time, because I am working on getting more people to that event, because I understand the power of that event, because there are 5 things that people will get from a major event. They're going to gain knowledge. They're going to improve their attitude. It's going to change their behavior. It's going to develop skills, and it's going to build belief. Those are the 5 things that a major event will do for you and for the people within your organization.
And those are the things you need. And that belief one is a key ingredient. I want to hit that just a little bit, because when we first looked at this business, it required a lot of faith that this was going to work. And, today, and it requires belief to be effective once you get home and you're at the table. When you're sharing an idea, when you're sharing, especially a non-tangible, this isn't like selling a car that people get in and they smell it and it's like, oh, and they get sucked into the trap of new car smell or something like that.
Exactly.
This is a non-tangible product.
It's
an idea
that they're going
or
to.
a building. And so faith versus belief. When we first looked at Market America, it required...
This was back in the late 1900s.
Late 1900s, just a while. It required a lot of faith. And faith requires something from you before there's evidence. And so, I would write that down. Faith requires something from you before there's evidence to validate it and back it up. There was nobody in a surrounding state of where we lived in that time in Colorado. There was nobody in a surrounding state that was building Market America. There was no meeting system in our area. It was just us and a pile of bills and a dream and
lots of tears
and a lot of tears, But my brother Kelly had presented this as hope of what could be, and I was holding on to that because of faith. Now, belief is an unshakable conviction based on firsthand experience, but I had no firsthand experience. I was coasting completely on faith at that point. And so he got me to a major event. We went to it was
world conference.
Basically, it'd be a world conference, in today's lingo. And so I went there on faith, and we put everything, all the full court press with some people in the ABC pattern with us. Tom Holden was in the loop at that point. My brother Kelly, but pretty much we were all prospects. I don't know, a couple of them might have been coming in as sales reps or something. I don't know. But put the full court press on. We got one guest there named Jackie Blasco, and that was ABC pattern. It was somebody that knew somebody that knew somebody that knew somebody in the home that had a roommate that went to high school with Jackie Blasco. And so everything, put the full court press on getting her there. And all this was based on faith. It required a lot of faith to get her to that event. But once we were in the room, once we heard Jim Ridinger speak, once he cast his vision in front of us, once we saw the passion of how deeply he believed, his belief transferred, truly from his spirit. It transferred from who he is in his core into us, and we gained the belief. All of a sudden, he uses the idea of a billionth of a volt going across your cerebral cortex, indelibly printed on your head.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I've heard it. He said that on the audio.
A few times.
Like every audio. He says that on every audio. And because he wants it to be indelibly printed on our cerebral cortex.
Exactly.
And we got in the room, and it did. We transferred from faith in what Kelly was presenting to personal belief. And so when we went back, and when Jackie went back to Minnesota, we went back to Colorado, Kelly went back to Orlando, everybody went back to where they were. Tom Holden and a few people that were in the ABC pattern then that didn't go. I was able then to take my belief and convey it into them, and I was sharing them. It's like, I've been there, I've seen it, I've seen the CEO of this company. I know this thing is going to work. I met people that are getting recognized. I saw what was going on, and so it transferred from faith to belief. It still required faith at that point, but
because there wasn't a lot of success. It was still new,
It was still hoping it would work.
It was, yeah, absolutely.
But I had enough belief to carry me through. Okay, in those days, it required a lot of faith because there wasn't the kind of credibility that we have today.
Where today, with the company, it doesn't require a lot of faith. The company has already proven that they're going to be around. Every quarter has been bigger than the quarter before since its inception in 1992.
Market America is not on trial anymore.
No, it is not on trial. $70 billion in accumulated retail sales. Over $3.6 billion paid out to unfranchised owners. I mean, it's just crazy that they're no longer on trial. Exactly. They have proof. The proof is in the pudding. They're going to be there. It no longer requires faith. But it does require belief in yourself that you could actually do it.
And I can't sit at the table with somebody and just share these stats with them and they want to do Market America, because there's a big gap between a good idea and something that someone's going to follow through on. Watching YouTube clips, reading brochures, I can give someone the annual report because I could tell them, hey, we've made millions of dollars with this company. I know hundreds of people, that have done the same thing and six-figure incomes and $300 a week and whatever you want. Like, there's so much fruit on the tree, people can do it. And I can share that with them and I can show them pictures and I can tell them stories and all those things. But that's no different than, giving somebody a manual on how to ride a bicycle and all of a sudden they know how to ride. You can only get so much from a book unless you transfer that into real life experience, real life belief. And that's what you get from the major event. It shifts from something that you're hoping. You're like, please let this work. Please let this be the answer to my family's financial future. Please let this be my breakthrough. And it shifts from that to being true belief. And belief is something that I can transfer from myself to another person. And that is something that happens at the major events. And for whatever reason, it can only happen at the major events. If you were to think of some of your favorite artists, it's probably musicians that you saw in a live concert, you had an interaction with. Some of your best sporting memories, or games that you've been at. There's a big gap between watching something on TV or listening to it on the radio and being in the stadium with the environment. It's like
you're a part of it.
You're a participant, not an observer.
That's exactly what, man, that is a great way of putting that, sweetheart. And that's exactly what happens. I can remember being at my first World Conference and attending that and just seeing all of those people crossing the stage, that were making money. And I thought, they are not any different than I am. If they have done it, I can do it as well. And then I can remember when JR got up to speak, and him transferring that energy, that belief, that willingness to take it outside, that this thing was going to work because he was going to make it work. But I would have never experienced that if I wouldn't have seen that myself. And so that is such an important part of building belief for individuals, not just for yourself. Of course, you need to be there because, again, it's a great reminder every time that you're there. But for people that you're actually sharing the business with today, people that have not even seen the plan yet, that you're going to show this week, still pushing that to get them to that major event.
Man, I wish I could stand up and give you a standing ovation because that is the key difference. I talked about the two groups of people.
Yes.
A job mentality thinker, a 45-year plan person, even inside of the unfranchised, even inside of this incredible system we got, you can still carry that kind of just manual process into a digital age, way of thinking. And so, it's like, I don't know, like having an iPhone and using it for a hammer, or something. It's like you're not maximizing what you have your hands on. This is not the season to check the box. Well, I'm going.
Exactly.
That's what you do when you have a job. You've got to go to your company's event, in your pharmaceutical sales or whatever.
Because that doesn't give any leverage.
There's no leverage
There's
in it.
No leverage in that. And so it is all about you. But when you started as an unfranchised owner, it no longer was about you. It was about an organization of people that you can teach and mentor, and that you can lead by being a Go Now distributor.
And so the shift now is you shift into, it's not, well, I'm going, so hey, back off, dude. I'm already got my ticket. Who's he talking to here? It's the fact of, I know that if you're ambitious enough, if you've shifted from the couch potato world to be off the couch, and you're actually on here tonight and you're listening to us and you're hungry and you want to break through and you're wanting to increase your income, I know if that's you, I'm talking to you, you're going to be in your seat in Greensboro. And if you have 2 people there, you're going to wish it was 3. If you have 3, you're going to wish it was 4. If you had 5, you're going to wish it was 6, whatever, you're going to wish it was, because there's nothing like getting one new person there, like we did with Jackie Blasco, and it's like, is she getting it?
My gosh, I think she's getting it.
And you're looking at the stage, but then you look to your left, and oh, she nodded. I saw her nod. That was definitely a head nod. No, she sneezed. Dang it. Okay, it was not a nod. Okay, but then you're looking at your left, and man, oh please, oh baby Jesus, let her get it, and then something will happen on stage, and it might be during recognition, or there'll be a teacher coming across that just says, man, I'm so thankful because now we're making $1,500 a week in this business and change our life. And she's like, I know so many teachers that could use that. Okay, I want to do this. This is a real business. I see this really works.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, I could have never done that over the phone.
No.
I couldn't have done it, any other way than having her in the room, see what's going on stage. And so that is our passion for this call tonight, is to get you guys off of, hey, if you're not going, I don't even know what to tell you. Just, you've got to be in that room. You've
got to overcome all obstacles. It doesn't matter what it is. And just another thing to write down tonight is, the person that solves the most problems always makes the most money. And so you want to look at, how can I solve problems for myself if I'm not planning on going? But how can I also solve problems for people that haven't even seen the plan yet?
Yes.
Not even yet. How do I solve the problems that they might have to get them to that major event?
And stepping up and rising. So anyways, talking about Jackie Blasker is a good example. When I was speaking with her, she went from that first event and came back like, okay, I get it. 6 months later, she had 21 people at the next event with her. 11 flew on an airplane. She wanted to fly with the ones on the airplane
because it was much easier.
But there were several other ones that couldn't afford to do the airfare. And so she put together a travel package with a bus, and she rode on a bus from Minnesota to North Carolina. I'm sure that was an amazing experience of bonding. And with
Jackie, it would be all great memories.
Jackie
created.
just would have made it fun. She probably,
yes.
Jackie goes out and checks her mail and makes T-shirts for everybody.
Exactly.
This is the checking the mail on Wednesday morning T-shirt. And so, but she rose up, and she was willing to take responsibility for more than herself. Not just, hey, I'm going to be there. She rose up and to take responsibility for others that could draft off of her faith, draft off of her belief until they could get to the event and get their own, like she had 6 months before. And so you got to be thinking beyond yourself and solving more problems. Like Stacy said, she stole that from my brother Kelly, who I think stole it from me. That is,
I was just originally concealing your sword, man.
And that is just simply, the person who solves the most problems makes the most money. And so if you're willing to solve problems, when you go to the event, Elizabeth Weber has solved a lot of problems to get people to the major event.
And she says that she believes that you are doing an injustice to people if you do not get them to an event.
Think about that a minute. You got people in the business to help them. It's almost like the doctor's oath about, above all else, do no harm.
Yes.
I feel a huge responsibility that if I'm working with someone, to do everything in my power to get them to that event, because I know that's where they're going to get the belief required to be able to come back and share with someone, what it is that they got. But you can't pour water out of an empty water pitcher. If there's nothing in you, you don't have anything to give, and you can share your faith, but there's nothing like sharing your belief.
That's exactly right. So you are going to have to overcome objections. You're going to have to overcome obstacles. It could be money for people. It could be previous engagements. It could be work. It could be kid problems. It could be that they're too busy. It could be that they're overwhelmed with details. Yeah, it could be all of the above. And so truly, David and I, right before an event, we are travel agents. We take care of problems. We are problem solvers. We are finding babysitters. We are whatever we need to do, because here's the deal. We know if a person gets to that event that they're going to leave there and they're going to thank us for getting them to that event.
Yes.
And so we do everything that we can, knowing, again, when it's harvest time. If you know a farmer, harvest time, they are harvesting. They are out there plowing. They are up day and night, whatever they have
What
to
if
do.
there's somebody's family reunion or a birthday thing on when it's like, wheat harvest?
Yeah, exactly. They would
They're
be
like,
out there
"Oh."
harvesting. I'm sorry. They're going to have to celebrate it another time.
Unless somebody is willing to pay for your kids' college education and that's your reason for doing the business. If your high school classmates are going to pay, hey, come to this thing, we'll take care of your kids' college for you instead, then go. If you got that kind of friendships, then go to the high school reunion. But if they're not going to pay your bills, man, I would be most loyal to your goals and dreams. Get money out of the way, get your business building process out of the way. And it might be like Andy Webb. He missed a couple of weddings. His daughter was a flower girl, and when an event came up, and he's like, man, they scheduled it on the wrong day, because that's my work day. I only work a few days a year that are non-negotiable. The rest of it I can schedule in the cracks of my schedule, but there's a couple of days that are non-negotiable, and that's one of them. He missed a couple, but he's had freedom to do everything the rest of his life. I mean, those are easy transitions, easy things to be able to negotiate in.
Absolutely. And something I want to talk about is how to promote an event versus how to announce an event. And David and I have talked about this a lot of times where, if somebody is moving and they put on Facebook, hey, I'm going to be moving, on Saturday, the chances of somebody showing up to help you move are pretty slim.
If anybody has nothing going on Saturday and you're looking for something to do, come over.
Exactly. You have to call specific people and say, hey, would you come over and help me move? It's the same thing if you are, you have a UBP and you need to get chairs moved. If you made an announcement and said, hey, can everybody help us move chairs? People are going to leave. They just think somebody else is going to do it. It's just announcing. It's not promoting. But if you go to a few people and say, hey, after this is done tonight, I need your help moving chairs, and will you find a couple of people to help do the same thing? You're more likely going to have people helping you move the chairs when the end of the night comes.
They'll buy in when you are promoting. And promote means, making the calls, do a 3-way call, send them a card, put together a travel package, do whatever.
Exactly.
People
have fears, like my dad, for example.
Great example.
My dad, he was 50 years old when he started the business, and he also was a driver's education teacher. And they needed this business to work because they were reaching retirement and realized that they would never be able to retire, if they did that. And so when they started Market America, we said they had to attend this international convention. Well, my dad had to find somebody to fill in him for driver's education. He was counting on that money, and he had never been on an airplane in his life. And he was scared. He was intimidated by that. And so it was truly like putting everything together, helping them, making sure they had a roommate, maybe making sure they knew how to get there, how to book airlines, helping them through that whole process.
And we put them together with another couple that we knew from Colorado Springs that snored like crazy, and which was funny because her mom and dad snore like crazy. But they're like, these guys snore. We had to put toilet paper in our ears, at night, and I'm like, well, so did the other couple, probably.
But was it worth it?
It was worth it. Got them all in the room. We solved all those problems, put them together, and got them in the room. And so, they've earned millions of dollars now in the unfranchised.
And my dad's been on lots of planes, traveled all over the world.
You talk to him for a minute, you think he invented Market America, and you hear him talk about getting to a major event. I mean, it's like non-negotiable. You got it. If you want a business, you got to treat it like a business. And you heard Ernie Heikes talk about that. He's so serious, about that issue.
Yes.
But you got to sometimes overcome people's fears, and they might tell you, "Well, I'm really busy." Are they really too busy, or they just maybe don't know how to solve their problems? Maybe they've never, had to. They don't know, Greensboro, North Carolina, where it is on the map, or how to get there, or travel, and well, then when I land, who would pick me up, and what about my luggage, and you might need to solve some of the problems, and maybe you just need to really let people know how important it is to you. There's people we've done in the past where I've taken bagels and put in a box and put a note. You really need to be at this event. I can't tell you how important it is. Just a reminder. Put it on their front doorstep. Rang their doorbell, and we drove off and left. And they'll give me a call later, and they're like, all right. Is it really that big of a deal that I go to this thing? And we're like, Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it really
Trust
is.
us. You will thank us later.
You know, and if not, Elizabeth says she always offers, she'll give you your money back on the ticket if you want it back. And in 24 years, she's never had to do that
Never had
because of
somebody
the
say they did.
quality level of the events that our company puts on. There's just nowhere else to get that belief.
Okay, so if you are a leader, here is a trick and a tip to help you in creating and promoting versus announcing within your organization. What you can do is you start at the bottom of your organization, whether it's somebody that's just evaluating the business or it's a person way at the bottom that's the newest unfranchised owner, and you actually talk to them, share the importance of it, and you get them to attend this event. From there, then, you go up to the person above them and say, hey, this person is going to the event. You guys should attend as well.
So
and you
good.
continue to move up the line, letting them know you've got 4 people in your organization that are attending this major event. You need to make sure that you're going as well. Do you have your ticket? Continuing up the line. And what we have found is truly, if you have a leg of 50 people that are at that event, truly you have hit a threshold that your business will explode. There's no doubt about it. You can't help it, but your business will explode.
You have to. You got to do that. And you got to, again, start at the bottom and work your way up. You can't go, sometimes people are like, I've talked to my leaders and I told them how important it is to be there. Man, you might need to step around who you think your leaders are and go to their people, because here's the secret little tip. They're your people.
You're getting paid on them.
Everyone in my organization, if their BV flows into my savings account, they're my people.
Yes.
And I'm going to do what I can to help them solve the problems necessary to help get to that major event. So
that is exactly right. That's exactly right.
Make sure we hit our things there. Overwhelmed, too busy. I just got to say, challenge people just a little bit on some of their objections that when they come up. I would probably push through, 1 objection, 2 objections, 3 objections. Now you're annoying. But if you go to 4 or 5, it almost comes back around where you're free game again. And
you do it but it's also with a pure heart.
Because it's in their best interest.
You know that if they get there, it will change their life. It will change their business. It's going to put them ahead 6 months. If they go, it's going to put them ahead 6 months. And so it's such an important thing. And so pushing through, it's because your heart is right.
Yes.
And you want them to be successful. Because
you care so much about them doing well that you really want them there. And and if you've not been, then I just want to instill in you increased levels of faith until you get there and you have your own belief. And for those of you that maybe you're like, well, hey, I went to the major event in Miami, or I went a year and a half ago, to Greensboro. I'm not sure if I need it. Has there ever been any other area of your life where you forgot how bad you needed something until you got it? Have you ever been so hungry you didn't realize you were hungry, and you get to a thing and there's some snacks out and you're like, I didn't even realize I was hungry. I've been working all day. I didn't even realize how hungry I was.
When even a Ritz cracker tastes delicious.
You're like, that's really good. or thirsty, man. You didn't even realize you were thirsty. Somebody's offered you a bottle of water and you just drink the whole bottle of water. You're like, I wasn't even aware of how thirsty that I was at that moment. And it's that way with a lot of areas of your life. And I'm sure in the past, you've probably been to a restaurant and you forgot how good it was. You're like, why don't we ever come here? Very often, this is amazing. You just forgot. Okay. And sometimes when you get away from something and you put your eyes on the things that are not a part of your goals and where you're going in life, and you take your eyes off of your goals and where you are going, you just kind of forget why you got started, where you're going, and you need a reboot. You do need your battery charged, but I just encourage you right now, because there's time for this event. There's time for you to be able to circle the wagons, go through your names list, and who's the biggest person you'd ever be chicken to call. And this is the time to reach out to that person and be focused more on getting them in the room in Greensboro than you are getting them in the business.
Exactly. When it comes to this time, we don't sign anybody or register anybody into their business at this time. We always get them to that event, knowing that when they get there, they'll have the information that they need. And of course, they will get started after that. But we're going to take all of the money.
Or if they go to that and don't get started,
they know they were the right person.
They were never the right person anyway. It was just good to know that in advance.
But we take that money that they would be using to start their business, and we use that for them to go to that major event.
And sometimes I hear newer people make the say that, well, I'm working with somebody and they had to choose whether to go or to get in the business, and so we went ahead and got them started. And I'm like, got them started in what? Because they don't really have the belief to even know what they're doing. It's better to get them involved than in. It's better to get them doing the things that would create success in their business. It's more important to get them doing those things than it is to get them 300 business volume with the products that they can play with. Who cares about that? Get their beliefs so high that it doesn't matter what happens when they get back home. So now is one. It's a great time to call somebody that you've been scared to call. You're saving that name for a rainy day. Well, look out your window. There's a season change.
It's raining.
It's raining. Right now, it's raining. Number two, there are people within your organization that when they got started, you're like, oh, this is going to be the next Elizabeth Weber. This person's going to be amazing. And life happened. Their cat was sick, or they got sick, or something happened. They got sidetracked. They didn't get the momentum. They got a no. Somebody hurt their feelings. Something happened. And you're like, man, I just know that if Carol would have gotten, if it started right, she would be a major success. Like, I know she wanted it in this business. I know that she could do really, really well. That is somebody you want to put the full court press on and call them up and say, Carol, you haven't been at the last couple of events. I've got an extra ticket to the event in Greensboro. I believe so much in your potential and your future with this business. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to help get you there. And if you're sitting on a ticket anyway, or your sponsor or somebody else there's one around, just say, hey, can I invest this ticket into Carol? Maybe money's tight and she can't go. Say, listen, Carol, if I bought you a ticket and we could help with some of the expenses of getting you to Greensboro, would you be willing to meet me halfway and invest the same thing in your business, and you take the time off and come with me? If I care enough about your business, would you care enough about it to meet me halfway? That's a really fair proposition. And I don't know a lot of people that would pass that up, especially if your heart is coming from a place to bless and help them and get them into that room. So now's the time to think about your prospects. And number two, be thinking about the people within your group that if they got it. And there's some people that are like, man, if I just duct tape that dude's mouth shut, throw him in the trunk, drive him to North Carolina, he'll thank me later. His wife will be calling, hey, have you seen Larry? No, gotta go. I'm kind of kidding. Not really. No, kind of a little bit kidding. But if there's people that if you got them there, they would just thank you later. If they knew what this really was about, if they knew what the potential was here, that they would be unstoppable, that they're perfect for it. Their life is in a place where they need it. They want a business. They're ready for a change. They're hungry for it. You just need to help get them there to make that happen.
And we believe in you guys. We bless you over these next couple of weeks of truly understanding this is harvest time. It is time. Not only are you going to be there, and you're going to have an organization of people there, but you're going to take some steps to get some people there that maybe have not even heard of Market America yet. But you're going to do the work now, knowing that truly is the secret of the $1 Million Club. No doubt about it. So we just bless you to do that. Yes.
I'm going to regret this if I don't say it later. One thing I know for sure, Stacy and I were talking about it today. There will be people in Market America that are at the director pin level. Okay, track me with me. There are going to be future directors in this company that are going to be guests at Greensboro that as of this moment, while this is being recorded, while this broadcast is happening, they've never heard the word shop.com or Market America. I promise you. There are going to be people that are called after this, over the next week, over the next 2 weeks, the night before. Who do you know in Charlotte, North Carolina? Who do you know somewhere where they can drive? Yeah. There's going to be prospects that as of the sound of my voice right this minute have never heard of this company. They're going to be in the arena as a guest, and in the future, they're going to be a director in this business. And and that person might as well be a part of your team.
Yes.
Because they're going to be a part of somebody's. They're looking for a break. They're going to have an amazing story to share. And that story might have something to do with you having the guts and you having the courage to get over yourself, to put it to the side, invest the time and energy into getting them there because you still have time. It's not too late. It's going to bug your brain if you're sitting in the arena and you're like, I should have gotten my chiropractor here. I should have at least asked him.
Everybody's going to feel that anyway, so you might as well be asking.
I should have at least asked him. Maybe he would have, You might as well get it. That's how I got Stacy. man, I could still be wandering around Kansas, wondering what I'm doing with my life. But, I asked, and then followed up. That's important too. But you got to ask, you got to do it.
Yes.
And there's going to be guests in the arena that will be directors in the future. Future Elizabeth Webbers and Frank Kiefers. The best days of this business are not behind us. They are ahead of us.
Yes.
And the top earners in this company have still not seen the plan. I promise you. Guarantee it. And they might as well be on your team as somebody else's.
Exactly. So you guys go out and make it happen. Those are the super secret shortcuts of the super successful. Have a great night.